I have never seen a woman like her before. The first time I laid eyes on Princess Adama, she was standing in the middle of the village square, her chin high, her back straight like a spear. Even in the heat of the midday sun, she did not flinch. She was wrapped in deep blue fabric with golden patterns that shimmered with every move. Her hair was braided into a crown, thick and black like the river after the rains. I was just a young man then, not more than 20, working as an apprentice to my uncle, the village blacksmith. The news had spread fast. Princess Adama, the only daughter of Chief Jadado, had arrived in our village. But this was no ordinary visit. She had come for a husband. The elders said her father had made a decree. Any man who wished to marry her had to pass a series of tests. She was the pride of their kingdom, a woman raised like a warrior, educated like a scholar, and stubborn as the baobab tree. Many suitors had tried and failed. She rejected men of wealth, men of war, and even men of royal blood. She was too proud, they whispered. Too difficult. But she did not care. That day in the square, I saw her for the first time as she addressed the village. "I'm not looking for a man with riches," she said, her voice clear like a war drum. "I'm not looking for a man with titles. I am looking for a man with a heart that cannot be bought." The village murmured. Some laughed, others scoffed. "What kind of woman speaks like this?" An old man beside me grumbled. "She will never marry," another said. But I listened, and I understood. The tests began the next day. The first was a test of strength. Young warriors from our village and beyond wrestled before her eyes. I watched as she sat on a high stool, observing with no expression, her dark eyes unreadable. The strongest man, Idris the hunter, won the challenge. But when he came before her, she only shook her head. "Strength without wisdom is like a river without water," she said. The second test was of wealth. Men came with gifts, gold, fine cloth, even a white horse from the north. She thanked them, but again she shook her head. "Riches mean nothing if they are not shared," she said. I did not enter the competition. I was just a blacksmith's apprentice. What could I offer a princess? But something in me could not stop watching her. She was not like the women I had known. She did not bow her head. She did not soften her voice to please anyone. She did not smile unless she meant it. And then came the final test. Princess Adama stood before the crowd and held up a simple clay pot. "This pot is cracked," she said. "Who among you can fix it?" The men who had competed before me stepped forward. Some laughed at the task, saying it was too easy. Others tried to use gold and silver to patch the crack. But with every attempt, the pot broke even more. I don't know what made me step forward, but I did. I took the pot, ran my fingers over the crack, and smiled. Then I went to my uncle's smithy, mixed the clay with water, and carefully sealed the pot with my own hands, just as my mother had once done when I was a boy. The next morning, when I brought the pot to the princess, she took it in her hands and studied it. Then for the first time she smiled. "This," she said, "is what I have been looking for." The crowd was silent. Even the elders looked confused. "A cracked pot is like a person," she explained. "You do not throw it away because it is broken. You do not cover the cracks with gold to make it look expensive. You mend it with care, with patience, with understanding. That is the kind of man I want. And that is how I, the blacksmith's apprentice, became the husband of Princess Adama." To this day, people still whisper about her. Some say she was too proud. Others say she was too stubborn. But to me, she was simply a woman who knew her worth. And because of her, I learned mine too.